Hey guys, I'm here with Gabriel Gore. Super. Hold on, Gabriel. It says Gabriel Gonzalez here.
Yeah, no, that's I don't because it's through Google Meets, man. Like, I'm just messing around on Google. So technically, the Gonzalez. So when I was the middle child of seven kids, and my mom always told me that I was a Gore. Me and my little sister and our three older brothers. So five of us were Gores. I found out when I was 21 that I had a different dad. Me and my little sister had a different dad than our three older brothers, and his
Wow.
last name is Gonzalez. And then we actually ended up finding him this last year. Um, we did a DNA test, and we found him and found out that I got some more brothers on that side. So I went
That's cool.
from the middle of seven on my mom's side to the oldest of four on my. I'm sorry, the oldest of five on my dad's side. So pretty
Wow.
crazy. But yeah, that's why you got that
Yeah,
difference.
well, I'll stick with Gore because that's what I have saved in my phone, right?
That's it, man. Yeah, that's what I go by. There's too many Gabriel Gonzalez's online. There's only one Gabriel Gore. You can't find another one. So for marketing for myself, for my brand, I'm sticking with Gore.
Seems like it'd work. And so you're a super successful entrepreneur, multiple million dollars a year, in the painting industry. Can you tell us about like your journey as an entrepreneur and like from your initial idea of starting your company to where you're at now?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the times the entrepreneurs, well, I think there's some cases that it's different for sure, but I think for a lot of us, it kind of starts as a kid. You always hear the story about the guy pushing around the lawnmower and or selling candy bars door to door and that kind of stuff. So that was very much so me. We grew up rather poor, didn't really have anything. And one day my brothers came home with a lawnmower and a pocket full of cash, and I said, "Where'd you get that at?" And they said, "Oh man, we go and we knock on doors and we ask people to cut grass." And I was 7 years old at the time, and so I woke up the next Saturday trying to go cut that grass, and they were already gone. And that's when I realized, like, I got to get up earlier than my brothers and get to it because we only had one mower and three older brothers besides myself. And so that's what happened, man. The next Saturday, I got up earlier. I was always a early kid, 7 years old. Get up, take the lawnmower, and started knocking on doors. $5 a pop, $5 for front and backyard, man. And it was
Deal.
just a grind. But dude, I'd come home. My brothers were mad at me because I got to the yards before them, but they liked to sleep in. They were older than me, so they're in teenage years, and so they like to sleep in, and I wanted to work, man. So started there, and then. When I was about 12 years old, the kid came to me from work or from school, and he said, "Hey, man, there's this guy that we could sell candy bars out of the back of his van." And I was like, "What?" And his name, I was in sixth grade, man, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, this dude name's Rodney." And no kid, man, this was a cargo van with no back seats, only the two front seats, and he had these Tupperware bins, and he would put those like little 6 pack of candies in these big Tupperware bins, and he would send us out with like $150 worth of candy in a bin, and we sold them for $6 a piece, and we got $1.25. And man, at 12 years old, I was making anywhere from 80 to 120 bucks a night. And after school, we were just out there hustling Target parking lots, door to door. And so that taught me a lot at 12 years old on like how to talk to adults, how to sell. Like I even at 12 years old, I was figuring out that if you're walking out of a grocery store and you're pushing a cart, if I could get you to stop, I could sell you a candy bar or something in my bin for $6. And so that was fun. There was always this challenge of like, dang, what can I learn here? And at 12 years old, I was piecing together like, how do I stand? How do I look at them? What do I say? How do I smile? And man, I was killing it. I was definitely the best. Me and this girl, we were the number one salespeople every day, back and forth. And then my buddy I learned my first business lesson. My buddy talked me into leaving that guy and going and selling coupon books out of another lady's van, because she bought lunch for everybody. And I went, and as good as I thought that I was at selling candy bars, which I was, I went 3 weeks straight without selling one coupon book. And that's when I realized at 12 years old that what you're selling, there has to be a change in how you approach it, where you approach it. It was easy to sell a $6 candy bar because people love candy. and it was consumable, right? And so it was something that they enjoyed, they could give to their kids. When you sell a $10 or $15 coupon booklet, the first reaction is like, I'm not going to use that, right? And in reality, now that I'm older, like I wouldn't have used it either. And so it's so much harder, even though the price point was only 75, 100% more, which isn't that much. It's still just pocket change. It was the fact that I had to build a lot more value into something like that versus everybody saw value in a candy bar. And so that really played into the fact that I learned a business lesson. Don't follow your friends. Don't go somewhere just because the lunch is there. Stick with where you're making the money and figure out how to blow that up. So my entrepreneur spirit started there, and then just grew as I got older.
And so when did you get into painting, and then what motivated you to actually start the business?
Man, so we inside of that sales portion, I moved from Las Vegas to Virginia Beach, where I'm at now. And in that transition, I started going to church, and the church that I was going to, they did this thing where you went out on Saturdays and on Thursday evenings, and you knocked on doors and you just invited people to church. Man, it was a Baptist church, and that's how you got people to come in. You just knocked on doors
Yeah.
and asked them if they wanted to come to church. Well, in that, they would do little things like how to talk to people, and they would show you like how to look them in their eyes, roll your shoulders back, and stand up straight. Keep your hands out of your pockets so that people don't think that you're approaching their door with something nefarious that's going to happen. And keep a smile on your face even when they're not answering. And so, and then when they do answer, like, what do you say and how do you engage with them to get them into a conversation? And so, although I wasn't selling anything at that time, door to door, I got to learn all of that aspect as well. And so, in being at the church, going to school at the church, went to a little private school there. I also my mom ended up moving when I was 18. She left. She never came back. And so now I'm here. Like I got to have a place to stay. My mom's gone. I gotta still go to school and pay my way through this private school. So I just went to the pastor at the church and I said, "Hey, man, you think I could work here?" So that I could pay for my schooling here, I'll work and we'll figure it out. So he was like, "Yeah, they paid me $189 every 2 weeks, man, before taxes." So they gave me a place to live, which was cool, but it was like the pay was nothing. There were 60-hour work weeks, 7 days a week, and so it was just a lot of stuff. But it was really great, and I really fell in love with it because the ministry aspect, my heart fell in love with being able to. I was able to tag along and go on to hospital visits and talk to people that came into church that need to be prayed with, and so I loved that, man. And then one day, the full story is I was dating this girl. I wasn't supposed to be dating her because the church had rules where if I was going to date her, I had to date as a staff member. I had to date in a certain way, and I didn't do that. And so the pastor sat me down and he was like, "Hey, man, you broke the rules. We want you to come back, but this is what we're going to do. Let's take a year off. And in that year off, man, at the end of the year, we'll reassess it. And if you want to come back to work for the church, we'll bring you back on. We'll take a look at it, make sure that we got something open for you." And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's exactly what I want to do. I'll definitely be back." And so I'd been there for 4 years. And so at 22 years old, the pastor looks at me and says, "Well, what are you going to do for the next year?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'll start a painting company." And it literally happened just like that. It was just like, "I don't know. I'll start a painting company." And
Multi-million
so
dollar decision, just like, whatever.
dude, bro, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. So he was like, "A painting company? You don't even like to paint when we have to paint around here." And I was like, "Man, you know, we're just going to go for it." Because it really, the core of that is the fact I didn't want to have some business owner pour a year into training me because I was so dead set on the fact that I was going to go back into ministry anyways. So I was like, I feel like I could start a painting company, run that for a year, and walk away from that, no problem. So that was really the start of it, man. The church, a couple guys from the church, businessmen, helped me out, gave me a little bit of money. One gave me $1,000. The church gave me a truck that they weren't using. I sold my car to get the insurance that I needed. Another guy brought me in. He supplied a bunch of painting supplies to the Navy ships out here. So he brought me in and like let me go through his warehouse and like gave me an airless sprayer and all this stuff. Man, the church outfitted me really. All the guys, businessmen from the church outfitted me really good. And then the church gave me 500 ream of paper, and I went and made some flyers and started passing them out door to door. And I got my first job, Lydia Norbritsky in Virginia Beach, and she gave me my first job, $860. Man, I got it done in 4 days, and I was looking at that check, and I'm like, oh man! Remember, I was making 189 every 2 weeks, as I got that 860 done in 4 days, and I was like, yo, what is going on here? The crazy thing is, she gave me a 50% deposit. I didn't even have a brush. I didn't have a roller. I didn't know how to paint. I knew absolutely nothing, man. And I started my first job, $860 back in 2006. I felt like the king of the world, man. That's crazy.
This is great. I know this is going to be great. Um, so so what were some of the challenges? Those are all it seems like it's been very fun, and it's been very like, I mean, it sounds like me thinking about what you actually did go through and how much you were working, it sounds difficult, but you have a smile on your face the whole time as you're saying it. So I'm like, yeah, maybe it was fun. But let me ask you this: what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in the early stages, and how'd you
Yeah,
overcome it?
for real, the biggest challenge in the early stage was the fact that I didn't know anything about the painting industry. I'd never worked for a painter before. I didn't know where to find clients. I didn't know how to find those clients. I didn't know what they wanted. I didn't know anything about the paint. I didn't know anything about the brushes, man. I used to go to when I first started out, I would buy the stuff at like a local hardware store, because that's what like Bear, I bought Bear from like Home Depot, right? Because that's where the church bought it from. I didn't know there was actually stores like Sherwin-Williams that's all that they did. And so I would just go in there and buy whatever I needed from a place like that. And then one day, just driving on the road, I see a sign that said Duron Paints, which was a local paint that ended up getting eaten up by Sherwin-Williams eventually. But I saw this thing and I was like, bro, there's a store dedicated to painting contractors. Like I need to go in there. So I go in there and I meet this dude behind the counter. His name was Daniel Jeter. And I meet this dude and we're talking, and all these contractors are coming in and buying paint, and I'm listening to them, and I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. Like, they're talking about the prices that they're charging. So I sat my butt down on a big old pallet of caulking, and I sat there for hours. One time I sat there for a half of a day. And when the contractors weren't in there talking, I would talk to the managers. And when the contractors were there, dude, I would just listen to what those guys were saying, because I didn't know jack. I went down and I rented all the DVDs and books from the library that I could, because YouTube wasn't a thing at the time. And so I would study those books, I would study those DVDs. And so the hardest thing for me at the beginning was like, where do I find the people from? And so I only knew what I knew at the time, which was just flyers onto cars. And I didn't have any money, so I handmade signs, and I would put those handmade signs out on street corners, man. And so as the job started rolling in, people problems became the number one thing. I had 3 employees within 4 months of the business, and they proved to be it proved to be extremely hard. Although the work was flowing in, because the marketing, I knew how to market myself. I've always kind of had that niche type of trait in the business, and so it was kind of easy. It just made sense to me on how to market. But the people was hard, like, because I was hired. I was also, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to hire, and I just learning on the fly as I went, and so that became difficult.
Okay, and so what do you think? So the biggest obstacle was the people. You have a lot more employees now, you told me, right?
Mhm.
Like, how'd you overcome that, and how'd you figure your way out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you just kind of learn that. I actually probably have learned more about the people and the culture in the last, I would say, 6 months or so. In reality, like, I've always been the type of guy that has loved people. I've always wanted to do good for people. I've always wanted to try to inspire people, and so I feel like getting people in the place was just because, some of these contractors, man, they're just jerks. Like, if you guys are out there listening to this type of thing, like, you guys might just be a jerk that's mean to your people, and you need not to be that. Like, and that just comes from the core of somebody sometimes. I think it can change, but some people in the contracting field, they're just mean. They're grumpy and nobody wants to be around them. And then they sit there and they cry a river about how they can't find good people. You never find somebody good if you don't treat people right. And so I think that just treating people right, I think that helped me over a lot of the hurdles. Like the guy that I was telling you about in the Sherwin-Williams, he ended up being
Uh-huh.
a top guy at the Sherwin-Williams. And 7 years after knowing him, he came to work for me, and he's my general manager now. And so it's just, and he said that when he left Sherwin-Williams, and I didn't have the money to hire him at what Sherwin-Williams was paying him. Heck no. But he saw something. He wanted to build something, and he was like, "Dude, we're gonna do this." And he came on, and it's been fantastic with him. He's a great leader. He brought a different aspect on how to hire, how to train. But for me, we always joke in the company, like, I don't have to find a bunch of really great people. I found a couple really great leaders that were better leaders than me. I brought them on, I inspired them, and they're able to hire people underneath them that are way better. So, I brought on Daniel, who he had been with Sherwin-Williams for years. He was their training manager. They had pumped hundreds of thousands of dollars into training him, and he immediately turned around our production team, all of our painters. He turned that around. We are starting to see productivity shoot through the roof. A few years later, I hired Judy, who came from a background of like corporate, like high end corporate stuff. She came in, she started hiring office staff that just absolutely kills it. She's a beast with what she does. And then I hired a new operator about 2 years ago. He ran a painting company for almost 30 years before he came on with us from New York City. So he came with a completely different drive on stuff. So it's really like, I joke about, Daniel jokes about how he's been able to hire everybody at the company. And I said, look, I've only had to hire 3 people. You guys have done everything else. I found Judy, Daniel, and Ivan, and brought them into those positions, and so it blew up. And so I just think that people need to. I think that people should focus on finding people that are better than them, and then figuring out how to pay them later, man. Like, if you just figure it out.
Wow. So you're saying you didn't even have the money to really hire him. You're saying that you just presented an opportunity and they want to come in and they see the big opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure with Daniel. I
Wow.
mean, Daniel was making, I don't even know. I know it was over $100,000 a year with Sherwin-Williams, and when he left them, I was like, dude, I can't afford it. He was like, I'll come to work for you for $15 an hour, man. And I was like, I think I could get you $20 an hour. And that's exactly, dude, I started him at $20 an hour, and he's posed to make about 160 this year. So
You know,
it's a great story, but he had to have faith in me too, right? Like, it wasn't, he had a family to support and all that kind of stuff. And so you
yeah,
just got to be good to people, inspire people, and people want to follow good people.
for sure. Being great pulls great people in. I could definitely see that from you and the team you put together. So he was taking a risk almost in coming in and working for you. And that kind of leads me into my next question. Like, how do you approach risk taking in business?
When you came from nothing, risk taking is a lot easier. I have found myself, when I first started out, bro, like, everything was a risk. Just doing the business was, every single day was a risk. And you just kind of get used to the risk of it. And from the outside, people can look at that and be like, man, how do you take so much risk? But, I've always, for years, I've called it calculated risk. Like, when I put a ladder up on the side of somebody's house, somebody could look at it and go, man, I would never get up there. That looks risky. And I look at it and I go, I know all the points. Like, I know that if this ladder moves a little bit when I'm on the ground, that it is going to be risky by the time I get up. But if it's stable on the ground, by the time I get up there, it's going to be stable up there. Right. And so it's all calculated risk. And then, so that's one portion of risk, is these calculated risks of, like, hey, do I trust myself to invest in myself X amount of money into somebody's program to be able to actually get something out of that, or into marketing? That's a calculated risk. If you lose a little bit there, hey, not a big deal. The real big risks are when you're taking these huge leaps or huge pieces of faith into people, and you don't understand everything about it. And that is risk that I try to minimize absolutely as much as possible. For instance, if somebody goes, Gabriel, this is what's going on with us right now. We're mainly residential. The team is like, we need to get into commercial. And I'm like, but every time we have these little tiny things, we end up losing. Like we're not winning and we haven't figured it out. So in my opinion, it would be really, really risky, not a calculated risk, like really risky for us to drop a bunch of money, create a team to go after commercial projects. So I'm not going to do that right now until I get more information, until it becomes a calculated risk. So if you approach business in that way of like, do you understand it? Do you think that you can achieve it in this thing? Then of course go for it. It's a calculated risk. If it's something where you're like, bro, I'm gonna jump out here and I'm gonna start doing roofs tomorrow. I know I'm a painting contractor, but I'm gonna try my hand at roofs. Like you're taking a risk that you need to have better information. You need to have as much information as possible, have the ability to be able to do it. So risk to me is broken up into those two things. Now I do admire the men and women who can take those big risks. They do end up winning sometimes, but there's a lot of them that don't win. And we like to make stories and write books about the ones who took a big risk and won. And for me, it's always been like, if you would just get a little bit more information and make it more of a calculated risk, the odds of you losing would have been less than you just jumping in and doing something that you probably shouldn't have done. So that's how I always look at risk.
Wow, so you're basically saying if I have more knowledge over a situation, right, when it like the risk isn't taking a calculated risk, the risk isn't really as like the offside isn't as bad as if I go into it with no knowledge.
For sure. The Bible says get wisdom, get knowledge, forget it not, right? Like the whole thing is like you got to have wisdom, get that knowledge and then make the move. Like if you're making the move before you get it's the exact same thing as you hearing one side of the story and making a decisive decision when there's more sides of the story. Like we all look at that and go that's foolish. But we never look at it when somebody's just like this is what's going to happen. Like we're going to like get the information first, get the wisdom first. Not everything has to be done like immediately right now. I'm all for moving quick, but if you're going to move quick, get the knowledge and get the wisdom that you need quickly in order to make those decisions. Because the last thing you want to do is lose face with the people that you lead because you led them down a wrong path, right? Nobody wants to trust that guy on the battlefield that is telling them to do something when every time he's told a group to do something, they get shot and dead
Yeah.
or injured,
Yeah.
right? Like you start to lose trust in that guy. If he would have taken 5 more seconds and looked at the map, he would have realized that we can't run up that hill. It's too steep and the enemy's on top of it, right? We should approach it from a different angle. And so just have calculated risk rather than these just massive risks that some people take and end up shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh my God, I'm learning so much more from this than I possibly thought I could learn. You should get like a book or something going, really. Like actually,
Man,
I'm sitting here, I'm like actually amazed. I'm not usually learning a bunch in these interviews. I'm finding it interesting, but it's never like, damn, I want to have another 30-minute personal conversation after this. Just asking for advice.
man, I'm just a fat Mexican who fell onto a painting trade, man. That's all that this is, but I do love to talk.
No, I mean, you're definitely that you can tell the difference between a guy who's been in business versus a guy who's like giving you advice and hasn't been in business.
Sure.
So, can you share like some kind of pivotal moment or decision that impacted your business severely? Because 0 to 4.5 million bucks a year, like I know it wasn't that high the whole time. Like there had to be something that changed and that clicked in order for you to be able to scale, right?
Yeah, I really think that scale happened when we brought on Daniel. We were doing about $700,000 a year when we brought
Uh,
on Daniel back in 2015. Um, And so his leadership, like I said, man, Sherwin-Williams had paid him so much money to be able, like he trained all of their people that they hired in this whole area. He brought them on, he trained them, he ran one of the largest stores here.
uh,
And so he was very instrumental in being up for us to be able to look at stuff and go, hey, this is how we should approach this. And so it allowed me to focus on the sales and marketing side, and he focused on the implementation and the service side. And he's such a better leader at that kind of stuff. I took a test not too long ago. I literally got a 2 on the mercy scale. Like I love people, but like if you break your arm, I'm probably the guy that's video recording it, laughing about it, so that we can laugh later, right? Like I'm not the dude down there like, hey. And Daniel is very much so the guy that would be down there that's like, hey, is everything okay? How's your family? What's going on here? And so he added a very pivotal point in the business that really allowed us to scale a lot quicker, holding people more accountable for certain actions, so that I could put my head down in the marketing and sales portion and just grind that out, knowing that whatever I sold, Daniel's going to figure out schedule wise and team wise how to get that done, man. So I think that was a huge pivotal point in the business for sure. And then our most recent one is when we joined with Cardone Ventures. That changed my leadership, changed my mindset, changed my actions every day, changed how I approach my team. So that has been a really, really pivotal point in the business over the last been like 8 months now or 9 months.
Wow. Wow, man. And I'm gonna clip that for Daniel, by the way, probably put some tears in him.
I love it.
So, have you had any kind of like failures or setbacks that I know people say you learn a lot from failure, but I feel like, I feel like when you succeed, like there's like 1,000 failures, and then like once you figure out something that kind of works, I feel like the success is what. Anyways, I'll move on. But I feel like the success is what, okay, like I know what to do now in order to get a sale or to grow my business. But for you, I want to ask you, how do you handle failures, setbacks, and like how do you learn? How do you learn from that? More importantly, how did you keep going past that? I think.
Man, first of all, let's get this out of the way. I freaking hate failure. Like I have this thing inside me. I'm a high on the like the R3 scale that Cardone does. I'm a high influencer, right? Like I want people to like me. I love being around people. I get energy from people. But like the curse of that is like when you fail, like everybody knows about it and it's embarrassing, right? So first of all, I hate failure. I hate it. And for years I allowed that to stop me from pursuing the things as fast as I should have because I didn't want it. Not that I feared failure because I didn't. Like when you come from nothing, like it's like who cares if you fail? Like none of your family has anything, so it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it's not a big deal. But it's embarrassing, and so for me as the influencer on the scale, I don't want to have embarrassing moments, and so I with that, I allowed it to slow me down. But fear is fantastic, man. And it's a fear. The thing that I do love about fear is that it's a motivator. Because when I look at a situation and I'm like, dude, I don't want to fail mainly because I don't want the people around me to look at me as a failure or like, you failed at this. It motivates me to work harder. It motivates me to work smarter, to get more information, to walk into situations with more knowledge and more wisdom, because I'm not a fan of it. Now, with all that being said, I have failed a lot, like so much, man. Like I'm probably the king of failure. If there was anybody in the painting industry who has failed, I've probably failed more. Like I've just done stupid stuff. I've done some stuff right. I've done a lot of stupid stuff wrong, man. I mean, I just came out of a third quarter of 2023. We had a great 2022. I had a 2023 that plateaued, which was only my second plateau in all my years of business. But I had spent so much more in 23 because I thought we were going to have a year like 22, and I wasn't looking at my financials like I should have been looking at them. And so we started to tank on our profit, man. Like it was just an absolute tank. And praise the Lord, we pulled out of it and have had our best quarter in 2024 than we've ever had the first quarter. But man, talk about a failure, dude. Like it was the first time that I ever had to call somebody and like lay them off because we had to cut some stuff. Like it's not an easy thing. Had to call some people and ask them to take pay cuts. And I went 6 months without a paycheck. And so none of that is fun. None of that is easy to talk about. But dude, like that has put a fire under me, man, where everything is hitting so much on all cylinders right now. I've never been more excited about business. And so that failure, that roller coaster, that dip leads you into the next mountaintop, man. And so that's what's so cool. John Maxwell describes it as you try something, you fail, and he makes the motion upward, like you're failing up because you're learning something new. then you succeed, then you try something, and then you fail. And the failure is actually that upward moment. And so we can totally see that in what we've just experienced because the team went through it and the team is like, nah, bro, we're not going back to that. My sales guys are just destroying it right now, like absolutely killing it. And it's because we just went through a time where we saw failure and they were like, we don't want that. We don't want to go back to that. Everybody's going to pull their weight. And so failure is a good thing, but boy, is it uncomfortable, man. It's no fun to fail.
That's badass. And most people most people in an interview, they just keep talking about themselves, but you keep bringing up your people and how badass your people are too. You
Yeah,
know, so,
I love my team. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do what I do without my team, man. They have given me a life that I would never have expected to be able to do. And I love them with all my heart, man. They're just some of the most amazing people that I've ever been around, man. I love them. I mean, I got guys that are working, they're working 70, 80 hours a week. And yeah, because they're pursuing their goals and they're making great money and they're doing the things that they love to do, but it's also because they want to see something grow, man. And they're bought in. It's a great atmosphere.
I love that. And I'd love to come to your office one day and just see, like, you talk so highly of everybody. So I'd love to come in and just see everybody that you talk about. So that being said, I know your big focus is on sales and marketing. Like, how do you build, maintain, and get these strong relationships with clients where they're trusting you and where they're doing business with you consistently?
So years ago, back in 2010, I picked up a book. I was walking through the bookstore, and I'm not a big reader. I forced myself to read, but back in 2010, man, I maybe read through one book in my entire life outside of the Bible, and I just was never a big reader. And I told myself, I was like, I gotta figure out more about business because I didn't have anybody to talk to. I mean, a couple of guys at church, but I didn't even know how to approach them about business. And so I was just going through the bookstore one day, Barnes and Nobles, and I went over to the business section and I found this book by a guy named Dan Kennedy, and it was like how to market, how to direct market, and they did this really long title. And so I picked it up, man, and I was blown away. I was like, yo, this is really good stuff. And he was just teaching you how to get in front of the people that you want to be in front of. And in that, I just started to implement the stuff. We started to do it. We didn't do it very well, but we started to do it, and we started to see some really big growth come out of that. And then every year, it's just been. I'm not a numbers guy when it comes to the financials because those numbers I'm just like, oh, I get so lost in so many of them. But I am a numbers guy when it comes to like the marketing. Like I want to know if I spend $1, how much money did I get back out of that dollar? And so I started tracking every little piece of the business, every little thing that we did, and that really helped in the marketing aspect. I pieced together a couple things, man. I figured out on a side note how to get Google where I didn't have to pay them, but I got to the top of their section every single time, and so there was little stuff like that that I just started implementing every single day, grinding it out every single day, and the customers started to roll in, man. And so the marketing has always been kind of easy and fun for me. We built a brand which is huge. Like the guys, I used to hear the guys in the paint store like, I don't need lettering on the side of my van, and that never made sense to me. Those guys aren't in business anymore, and my vans are completely wrapped all the way around, huge letters and numbers, and we track all of that stuff. And I know how much money those are bringing me in every single year, and that stuff is needed. I'm not even sure if I answered your question with
That was it.
where you
That was
were
a good.
going
I don't know.
on
We don't need
that,
to go
but
back to the question. That was a better answer than my question provoked.
oh man.
That was a great answer. Okay. And so you talked about Cardone Ventures and joining them and partnering up with them. Can you discuss like that kind of like how significant that is? And you said that's a big pivotal point. Can you discuss the significance of that and that
Yeah, man.
mentorship?
I mean,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, you and I met at a at one of their boot camps, which was my first event with them. I ended up going to their 360, and then I signed up for their platform and their business mastery leadership program, which is quite hefty to put money into. And we didn't have the money to be able to put into that. I had it in my personal, and so what I did was I went ahead and I just hey, let me can you hold for 1 second? Are we live?
Yeah. No, no, no,
Okay,
no.
you're just recording. I gotta get a charger real quick.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were, but I was like, I better make sure before I like walk away.
Man, this is good. Tell Daniel to watch it.
Yeah, right. Have the whole team watch.
Yeah.
You met Daniel, right? You met Daniel and Ivan, didn't you?
You were with three guys, right? Or it was
Yeah,
you and then two other guys? Yeah, I think
yeah,
I did.
the bearded guy is Daniel.
Was he a little bit muscular?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Not definitely wasn't the other guy. Ivan's not that muscular. All right. So what was the? Oh yeah. So we went to their boot camp, signed up for all their stuff, and man, it was a personal, it was a risk, but Brandon Dawson looked at me, man, and he was like, I won't let you down," and he walked away, and I was like, man, I don't know why, but I trust this dude, man. And we got into it. Their team was amazing. Like I said, the third quarter we were having a really bad time. December was terrible, terrible, and we called their team up. I actually emailed Brandon Dawson and he emailed all of his executive team. They got their entire team on it. They came through and said, "Do this, do this, do this." We did everything that they said, and by middle January, man, money was coming back into the bank. So it was pretty crazy how fast it turned around. We were very surprised, but I wasn't able to identify where the leaks were, and they immediately saw all the leaks and told us what to do, and we did it. So it was pivotal in the fact that sometimes it is nice to have somebody there that can help you in business go, this is where you're falling short, this is where you're messing up, and fix this stuff, and you're going to be on the right track. So yeah, that was big for us.
And are you doing Elite 125?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you guys are headed for 125 million dollars, and what was it? I think it's 25 million a year, and you can tell me, right?
Yeah, so we just got our platform, which is 100. We're shooting for 125 million by 2029. So I'm sorry,
Damn.
2034. 2034. Sorry,
Oh,
2034. Yep. Um, and so 125 million. They've outlined everything on where we should move into, what we should move into next. Is really quite informative. A lot of good information in there, and so we're stoked about it, man.
okay. And so my friend Gabe came with me to that Cardone event. Do you remember Gabe?
Yeah.
Not
Yep.
my other friend Gabe. Like, but
Yeah. He
okay.
was the he was the um he
When I
was the
said my
dude
other
that
friend
sat
Gabe,
next.
I meant you.
Oh.
It was a joke.
Yeah, no, he sat right next to me, right? You sat next to him. He was in between both of us, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't he say he wanted to start a roofing company?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, that was him. So, and that was like a year. He was working as a salesperson, and he was working as a salesperson for a roofing company, and whole time he's like, oh, I don't know if I even want to do this anymore. This is that. I think I want to be a real estate agent. And I'm like, dude, just get good at what you do. He got really good at it. He started doing like 200 grand a year as a salesperson, and that's like hard to leave. It's
Yeah.
easy to
Oh
leave
yeah.
when it's like, bro, you're making 30, 40 grand a year. It's like, yeah, I'll
Yeah,
go be a real estate
exactly.
agent. He's like making 200 grand a year, right? And so he didn't want to leave at all. He talked to you, and then he talked to you about, yeah, I maybe want to start my own company. And then you just gave him some kind of advice, and then he was like, bro, that guy Gabriel was amazing. That other Gabe was incredible, right? And then so he came back and he started his business, and he's like, he took the leap, he took the jump, and it worked out really good. So like I was wondering, he barely freaking knew you. Like he met you for 30 seconds or 4 minutes. I'm like, how do you have people always confided in you so easily? Have people always just trusted you so easily to ask for advice and then to go take it,
Yeah.
to go cut off 200 grand a year to take it? It's like,
Now look, dude, I love the people who are motivated to do that kind of stuff, man. I got a couple stories like that, and now I get to add Gabe to that because I didn't know until this interview that he actually went and did that. But so to answer the first part of your question, man, like I genuinely love people. I like being around people. I get energy from being with people, and I'm a natural teacher. I love preaching. I love all that kind of stuff. And so teaching is my thing, man. I teach my ninth through 12th grade guys at church every single week, teach them the Bible. Like I love that kind of stuff. Any type of teaching is just ingrained in me. And in that, and I don't know why, I'm 40 years old. I still have no idea why, but yes, people for my entire life, I feel like, come up to me and they ask me those types of things like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, I don't know you, but I'm willing to share with you. And I think it's really just the open transparency. Like, it took courage for him and you to even talk to me, right? And then because of y'all's interaction, it opens me up. So I'm a natural influencer. Like, if you put me up on stage, I'll preach to a crowd of 1,000, like, or teach to, like, it doesn't bother me. I don't get stage fright, nothing like that. But if you put me into a room by myself where I don't really know anybody, I'm the guy in the corner that's just watching. So I have this really weird dynamic, whereas, like, if you guys would have never engaged me, I probably would have never engaged you back, except for like a little high and by. So a lot of the kudos have to be put onto y'all for going, hey, and you guys started asking questions, and that opens me up. And so I have a tendency to be a shy person, but yeah, people ask me that all the time. So it's really cool to hear that. I actually had a guy
Yeah.
reach out to me on Facebook, I guess about 6 or 7 years ago, and he was like, dude, I was interviewing for a job in your area. I saw that, he's like, I'm about to get out of the army. I saw that I saw your vehicles, I saw the cross on your vehicles, and I was just like, hey man, maybe I'll start a painting company and this guy would be willing to help me. And so I told this dude's name is Justin. He lives up in Ohio. And I was like, dude, he called me up, and I called, or he hit me up on Facebook. I called him right back that morning. It was a Saturday morning. And I told him, I was like, here's the number for Daniel. Here's the number for my salesman. Here's the number for my office manager. I'll give you everything, bro. You can have it all. And for the first like 2 years of his business, he had never run a painting company either. He was from the Army. And the first 2 years of his business, all of his stuff looked exactly like mine, bro. Like his website, like everything looked the same, dude. And he did like 1.5 in his first year in business, man. I mean, it was
Wow.
unbelievable. And we still talk every single day, or every single weeks at most weeks. He's on track to do like 3 million bucks this year also. So he's actually outpacing me in the same industry, which is awesome. I love it. I got another dude that I like to talk to all the time. He runs a pressure washing business. He did like 600 grand. But we talk every single day as well. And so people do confide in me, and I love, I've always had a mindset of like what I call a kingdom mindset, whereas like, especially if the people want to talk about it and ask for the help, like, I'm going to do what the Lord asked me to do. And that's to share the wisdom that he gave me. And if that helps somebody else out, man, I'm all for it, dude. I want to see people succeed. I love it when they do.
That's the thing I love most about you, and you're definitely giving that in this interview too. Like, you've been with me for almost an hour, and you're giving real good advice and not just like kind of combing over your own accolades. Because you could do that. You could just sit here the whole time and talk about how great you are, you know.
I'm
So I
not really
appreciate
that
that.
great, man. That's the thing, is like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
have much to talk about. My team is great, man, and I like to lead them, and so, you know, and Jesus is great. That's pretty much it, man.
agreed. So, okay. So from the outside looking in, I kind of know the answer to this, but from the outside looking in, people in your company win a lot, right? And I was gonna ask, how did you create this? I wrote this down. How did you create this kind of environment of like winning? I want.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, again, for everybody, it's a little bit different. It's like, what do they want? And so part of the winning that we've really experienced in the last 6 months, and in a culture of that, is really focused around somebody's personal, professional, financial goals. Brandon Dawson says it this way all the time. He says, businesses don't drive people; people drive the business, right? And so, like, you got to get the people lined up, and you line up their personal, professional, and financial goals with you line that up with where the business is going. So if the business wants to hit $4.5 million, or 6 million, or 10 million, or whatever it is, what do your sales team members want to do? Like, if their goal is to if they don't have any goals and they refuse to make goals, like, I doubt if they're going to hit the margins that you want to hit. And so it's very much so about aligning what somebody wants and making sure that they're in the position that they want to be in, to be able to get the things done that they want to get done, because that's when people are engaged. That's when they're inspired. right? I got one guy that came to me and he was like, I want to make by next year, I want to make $250,000 a year. And so then my job as the leader is to go, this is how you do that. This is the outline
Uh,
that you follow. And when they start to go off of that outline, you go, hey man, is that still the goal that you want? Like you said you wanted that. Don't give up on yourself. Keep grinding it out. I know it looks hard, but it's going to be really nice when you got that $250,000 a year coming in. And so it's about inspiring the people to do what they say that they want to do. If somebody's like, I want to buy a house in 3 years, you start designing a plan and asking them and going, why 3 years? Why not 2 years? Why not 1 year? Do you think you can get it done in 1 year? How do you help your team build their belief lid? Right? Like most people's belief lid, they just don't believe in themselves, and they need somebody to help them and inspire them that you can think bigger, you can dream bigger, you can do bigger. You've just been told your whole life that you can't, that you should just be average, that you should just stay right where you are and get a good job and have health insurance, and that's it, and go home and sit on the couch for 6 hours a night and look at Facebook and watch TV. And it's like, no, man, you want more for yourself. I'm here to show you how to get more for yourself. That engages people. And that's the journey that we're on currently.
wow. I took a lot of notes during that, and I was like, wow. So basically, you have to line up what they want and really, really believe in them. Like
You
line up
have
what
to,
they want with what your targets and goals are in the business. That way,
yeah,
everybody's getting what they want.
exactly. And it's not just about believing in them, man. Like you can believe in somebody, but if they never believe in themselves, they cannot succeed. They have to understand that they do have the ability to be able to get stuff done. Man, I was reading Brandon Dawson's 9 Figure Mindset, and in that he was talking about how his salespeople, how when he had his business, I think it was his Sonus business, when he had his business, he actually lined up the first 10 calls that his sales team member was supposed to make on day one, but he had already had lined up 3 customers that were going to say yes. And so he walked these salespeople into a 30%, like he already knew it was going to be done. Right.
Mhm.
And so, and the reason for that was that now, when anytime they look at their numbers, they go, bro, on the very first day I hit 30%, I can do it on the next day and the next day. Right. And that's building confidence in the person. Right. That's how people
Uh,
get out of ruts. And so the leader, that's what your job is to do. Your job is to build the confidence in them and make them believe in themselves. And you can't have people who don't believe in themselves. You want people who really can go, I believe that I can achieve this, that I can get this done, that I can dream big and achieve big. Because when they're achieving the things that they want to see out of their life, they're engaged in the business and they're pushing the business to achieve the things that the business wants out of life, or what the owner wants from the business out of life.
that's genius. God, I
It
need to.
all it,
You keep mentioning this. I'm like, I need to sign up for 360.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great one, man. The 360 is awesome.
Yeah, audience probably doesn't know what that is, but it's a Cardone program. It's 10x 360. I don't know exactly. I forget exactly what they do, but it's
It's
a
like a
great program.
360.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
go
a
ahead.
360 view of the business and like what the things that you should focus on to grow your business. You know,
Okay,
it's a
yeah,
it's a it's good. We enjoyed it. We went right into the platform right after that. So I don't know if we even got to see all of the benefit out of the 360 because we immediately started working with the team. Whereas the 360 is kind of designed where it's like, here's the 3 to 5 things that you're going to do in your business to grow. And so it was, the lines got blurred a little bit for us because we jumped right into something else. But I'm sure
yeah.
that what they had designed for us and what we knew going out of that, I'm sure that it would have worked. I'm positive because everything else they've done for us worked.
Yeah, I have the same experience. Completely changed my life.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, right? What are your future goals and aspirations for your business?
So we want to get the business to 125 million by 2034. That's the long term objective right now. I have it on my goals that I write down every morning to buy 1 to 2 businesses this year If that's a stretch goal, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I don't want to get rid of the goal. So I still write it down every single day. Um, but yeah, so we want to have 125 million, 83 locations, and 253 employees by 2034. Our vision statement for the company is to be the largest independently owned painting company in America. Our mission statement we stick to is we honor the Lord through the way we drastically transform people's experience with traditional contractors. And we want to be known as completely different, drastically transform how regular contractors deal with clients. We want to be the exact opposite. So those are our big things that we're pushing for. And everybody's engaged on those, man. We're stoked.
It sounds exciting here. I might just come work for you.
Yeah, come on, man.
So, if you let me. So, ending it off here, where can they find you online? Where can they find you? You post stuff like this. I saw your Instagram. You post stuff like where you're helping
I
people.
haven't in a while, man. I love doing it. I'm on this stringent schedule right now, and I need to figure out a way to get those videos back into it because I do love it and I love helping people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I got an Instagram handle. I don't even know what it is. I think it's like official Gabriel Gore or something like that.
I'll
I
find it
don't
for you real quick,
I
and
don't
I'll
even.
help
Yeah,
service.
not even sure. Our Facebook, the Painter Inc. We're on there. Our website, the-painter-inc.com. But I'd love to hear from the audience, man. I mean, they can email me at 1-800-painting at Gmail, and I'd love to be able to answer some questions for them and collaborate with some of them. So we're stoked about that. We're stoked about we're starting up a new. I'm going to start doing these things that I call virtual lunches, where I Uber Eats somebody a lunch, and we have a virtual lunch together for 30 minutes. And I only made one rule that you've got to eat the lunch that I sent you, and we've got to talk like we're talking over lunch. And so I'm hoping that I can get in front of some really cool people and really help some people out with that. Utilize my lunchtime, my 30-minute lunchtime better by doing it that way, and just have a good conversation with some people. And just like if we were to sit down at lunch, but kind of reach across the world and have those meetings. So
Dude, that'd make a good
I'm pursuing
podcast.
those. Yeah, virtual lunches, man. I just came up with that one day. I was like, how do I save myself some time from going out to lunch? How can I cut this down to like a 30-minute? And if you have multiple with somebody, that's great. But like, an hour lunch plus travel time, man, I got too much stuff going on. I wanna be in the office and hammering stuff out for my team. But I do want to collaborate with people and start doing stuff, talking to more people. And so I started doing those. I started scheduling virtual lunches. Haven't done one yet, but I'm super stoked about those coming up.
That's awesome. Okay. And I also got so I found your Instagram, Gabriel.gore, GOAR.official, Gabriel.gore.official. You can follow him there as well.
Yeah, awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's I just like to keep that the Instagram one. I like to keep that with a lot of just information, little videos to inspire people, man, get people motivated. I love watching people succeed. It's probably my absolute favorite thing about being in business is to watch other business owners that I've talked to or other team members that I've talked to win at whatever they're doing, man. It's so great. Brings me a lot of joy.
I love that. Okay. And we're gonna also oh well, I can't wait to see your success is what I was gonna say. Thank you for your time, and I hope I talk to you again soon.
Yeah, man. That was awesome. Great. I appreciate it.